Okay, we're going to get to this next story. But if I claim that somebody grabbed my butt, could I get him fired right now? Is that the reality, Susan?
Absolutely.
Great. All right, we're just days away from Election Day in Alabama. And some Republicans are standing by their calls for Roy Moore to exit the race, despite the full backing of President Trump. Among them, the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, Senator Cory Gardner, who told the Weekly Standard, quote, Roy Moore will never have the support of the Senatorial Committee. We will never endorse him. We won't support him. Gardner, notably, has led the call for the Senate to expel Moore if he wins on Tuesday. Meanwhile, President Trump will hold a campaign-style rally in Pensacola, Florida later today. Why Pensacola? Maybe he wants to visit Joe and his family. No. Pensacola is less than 20 miles outside of Alabama and shares a media market with Mobile, allowing Trump to reach Alabama voters without having to cross state lines.
Yeah, it's a...
That's so cowardly.
So the media... Yeah, hey, Vaughn, how you doing?
Joining us from Pensacola.
So, hey, Vaughn, it's good to see you. You are now officially in God's country in Pensacola, Florida. The Redneck Riviera. Also, we like to call it L.A., Lower Alabama. So it looks like it's rainy today, but what are you expecting?
Yeah, that cloud over Alabama seemed to come down to your territory down here. It followed me in. What are we expecting? Well, we don't expect Roy Moore here at this point, but what do we expect? Donald Trump to really go on the attack against Doug Jones is what we've seen over the last week. But the question is, can he actually move the pendulum in this race? Remember 2 months ago, despite his suggestions that he didn't seem to change the race with Roy Moore against Luther Strange. Roy Moore ended up beating Luther Strange by 10 points. But, you know, I've been here for a month now, you guys, and I'm really hesitant to make any sort of prediction on where this race is going. I want to take you back to that 2012 race. Remember, Roy Moore won that Chief Justice race after being uprooted from his position a few years earlier by just 75,000 votes against a Democrat. It was 51% to 48%. Mitt Romney was on the ballot that same year and won his race by more than 450,000 votes. And so despite the suggestions that Alabama, you know, you can't move it. You know the state. The difference in that election alone was significant. And I've been around talking to Republicans here. I just got a message from Connie Thomas again yesterday. She lives in Hoover, one of those more affluent white suburbs outside of Birmingham. And she told me that she's sticking by Doug Jones. Despite the defiance by Roy Moore of this year, it was down in Fairhope. And I talked with Katie Pickard, who told me, she said, voted for Donald Trump 1 year ago. And I said, well, what's the difference this time around? She goes, there's a difference between young women, 16 to 18-year-olds, and older women that Donald Trump suggested that he had engaged in sexual misconduct with. So when you're looking at this race, Doug Jones has an apparatus. Roy Moore is running a ghost campaign, far from robust. Doug Jones, you know, we gave Donald Trump a hard time for his sign game. Doug Jones has a presence here. They're phone banking, they're canvassing, they have field offices. The word is that Cory Booker, John Lewis, who will not be appearing with Donald Trump on Saturday, the word is that he will be in town. They need to turn out Democrats who have not believe that they've had much of a voice over these years.
All right, so Vaughn, I'm going to now, if you can take out your reporter's notebook, I'm going to help you on some things here, okay? You need to do this. First of all, it's 5:30. It's 5:30 Pensacola time. At 6 o'clock, you need to go over to Bagel Heads. It's on Garden Street. It's not far from
Tell them Joe says hi.
Yeah, say hi to Rob and Jan. Get a chocolate cappuccino muffin. You think I'm joking? I'm not. And then go over to the Fish House. Say hi to Collier Merrill. Swear to God, they have the biggest wharf rats. And I'm just joking,
Don't tell him,
Collier.
Joseph.
I'm just joking. And then after it's all over,
I think I'm going to stay through the weekend. So
okay, so
I think we can make that happen.
The beaches.
Last night we just hung out at the Hilton Garden Inn, which wasn't quite good enough.
So swear to God, the beaches, whitest beaches in the world. I swear to God, you got to go out to the beaches and go to the Naval Air Museum. And then go back to the Fish House, and you can put a saddle on one of those wharf rats and ride them around for a while. Collier, I'm just joking. But it is.
How about NBC just gives me a couple days when this thing's wrapped up, and then I'll go and make it happen?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely
as long
amazing.
As we don't have a recount.
Give me a call, Vaughn.
Give
me a call. You're going to have a great time there. Just don't get
you guys
bit
are coming
by
down next week. How about you just come out early and we'll do the weekend?
I would absolutely love that.
Okay, Julie Pace now. Thank you, Vaughn.
Okay, well, watch out for the bites, because they take your whole arm off.
By the way, joining us now, Pulitzer President, columnist, and associate at the Washington Post and MSNBC political analyst, Eugene Robinson. Julie Pace is also with us.
Hey, Julie Pace. So how fascinating. We actually saw Cory Gardner make a statement, a strong statement about Roy Moore. Shows that the entire party has not buckled, that there still really is a divide in Donald Trump going down to campaign for Roy Moore in L.A., Lower Alabama. It just raises so many fascinating questions. What are they going to do if this man wins?
Absolutely. I mean, that is the biggest question right now. I think Vaughn is right. It's hard to make a real prediction about this race. We haven't seen a lot of credible polling. I'm not sure polling would actually even tell us the state of this race, given all of the different dynamics that could impact the way people might answer questions to pollsters. But Republicans are split on this. We have seen some Republicans who reacted pretty negatively to the initial allegations of Roy Moore kind of back away from those, back away from raising the possibility they might not seat him. But you do have Cory Gardner, who's been leading the way on this. You do have other Republicans who talk quietly behind the scenes about what it would mean to have Roy Moore as a sitting senator in 2018 in the context of everything that you were talking about in the first half hour of the show, in the context of these constant allegations that are coming forward against people. There will be more on Capitol Hill. That's one thing I think we can say for certain. There's a lot of discussion about that right now. And Republicans will be asked time and again, what about Roy Moore, who's now in your party, who you're now counting on for votes? One of the things I've heard from Republicans, though, is the danger of the Republican leadership saying to Alabama voters, you knew all of this information about this man going into this race. You still voted for him, and now we're going to tell you that we're taking him out of the Senate. That is a dangerous precedent potentially to set. If you look beyond the implications for just Roy Moore himself, what that would mean to voters in both parties, that party leadership could just say, no, we're not going to respect the will of the voters.
Julie, that is a great point. And Gene, that's something I've been wrestling with. Obviously, we're all very concerned about the allegations against Roy Moore. But think about the precedent it does set. The people of Alabama have known about these allegations about Roy Moore for over a month. If they choose to send Roy Moore up to the United States Senate, and the Republican Senate then decides we're not going to seat the man the voters sent up, that does set a precedent that could be abused, a precedent that could be very dangerous.
Sure, it does. Look, it's a tough place for the Republican Party to be in, right? Because wherever the line is, and I agree, Mika, we haven't figured out exactly where the line is, but to my mind, at least, Doug Moore is way on the other side of the line, right? I mean, you've got very credible allegations from a number of women who were teenagers at the time, and that's incredibly troubling. But yeah, I don't see Republicans in the Senate saying we will not seat the elected representatives, so they'll be stuck with them.
But there is one thing that if it goes immediately into an ethics investigation, Ron Moore will have to be under oath when that happens. And that's something he has been very, caught. He does not want to be caught under oath in the amount of, that may be the only justice that these women get, is that yes, they'll have to be open and yes, they'll have to testify in an ethics committee, but he will be under oath, and that in itself could be his own undoing.
The ethics committee is there for a reason. And it's often good to use it. Then there's this. Civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis canceled plans to attend the opening of the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum this weekend due to President Trump's attendance. Lewis told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that he would have a difficult time sharing the stage with Trump, telling the paper Wednesday, "I think his presence would make a mockery of everything that people tried to do to redeem the soul of America and to make this country better." White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders released a statement yesterday addressing both Congressman Lewis and Benny Thompson, skipping the event, writing, quote, this: "We think it's unfortunate that these members of Congress wouldn't join the president in honoring the incredible sacrifice civil rights leaders made to right the injustices in our history.
You mean civil rights leaders
Like
John Lewis?
John Lewis.
Who
Gene.
was almost beaten to death on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma and still
that
bears
guy.
a scar. That guy?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wondering.
How
Thank you,
does John
Sarah,
Lewis
so much.
How does John Lewis stand next to a man
Exactly.
who just last week was actually retweeting white supremacist videos, and after Charlottesville was saying that there were good people on both sides?
Yeah, John Lewis does not stand next to that man, and he's not going to do it. I know John Lewis pretty well, and I can tell you he's entirely untroubled by whatever Sarah Sanders might have to say from the White House podium about him.
Unbelievable.
All right, Gene, stay with us. Casey Hunt, thank you very much. Coming up, we're seeing more violence in the Middle East today. We've got a live picture from the West Bank after the president's controversial decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haas, will be here on set. Morning Joe is coming right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.